All right, Armando, live on video. Stand by for audio. All right, good day and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Live the Fuel show. So today I am bringing on, yet another new co-host for you. And this gentleman's got a heck of a background. We are definitely going to have some very healthy, fit conversations for you all today because I'm loving where he's coming from here. This gentleman helps growth-minded, married men live happier, more connected, more fulfilled lives. And I'm engaged, so I'm about to be married, so this will be helpful for me. He does this with his immersive coaching program that helps men show up powerfully in their marriage and in their health and their business, which we talk about in this show as well, and in their purpose. So I want to focus on that purpose, ladies and gentlemen. His unique approach helps strip away the clutter, both internally and externally. It's stopping men from showing up daily as the greatest and grandest version of who they are for themselves, their family, and their legacy. So a few tidbits on him. He's a husband. He's a father. He's an adventurer like myself. Best-selling author. I got to get onto that chapter yet. Ultramarathoner. I've only done a marathon, so he's got me beat on that too. Lifestyle physical therapist and a legacy coach, as I've already hinted at. So without further ado, Armando Cruz, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you for having me.
You have a lot going on. There was more here. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I can tag in here. He and I have things in common. Climbing mountains. I've hiked a lot of 14ers. He's run over 50 miles in a day in swamps filled with snakes and alligators. You've lived out of your car. I've sort of done that here and there, maybe not full time. I suck at rollerblading. And I've attempted surfing, not very good at it. Maybe not in hurricanes. Yeah, yours sound a little crazy there. And I'm definitely not a father, and that's your biggest adventure you have noted in your bio here, man. So let's catch up for our audience here. What you got some birthday fun this weekend, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's my birthday tomorrow. I'll be 38. My mom, we're celebrating her birthday, her 60th. Her birthday's on the 15th of February.
All right. Does mom listen to podcasts as she enters into her 60th decade?
You know, I don't think so. She doesn't really listen to podcasts, but she is one of the most efficient people. Like if you want something done, my mom, it doesn't matter how many things she has juggling. Mm-hmm. She figures out a way. It's mind blowing. She's that kind of person.
It's interesting. Like my parents were early 60s, as I hinted at before we started recording today. And I don't think in that generation, they called it multitasking. I think you hit the nail on the head there as far as there's like an efficiency thing, man. They just flow. It just happens. I don't know what it is.
It's not multitasking. It's just get it done. That's what they did. That's what they called it.
No, there's no excuses. You just, hey, Here's the work, get it done. I love that. Right. Yeah. And actually that's a great thing so you and I are very close in generations here. We're only 2 years apart. So it's interesting to have that kind of influence, I think, in our childhood, right? Getting us to where you and I have gotten to today. I mean, we've got a lot of interesting things cross-functionally here in common, and you've definitely kicked some butt here as far as, launching author of the Legacy Code. A quick little tag there for you, ladies and gentlemen. He is an author. Okay. The book is The Modern Man's Guide to Escape Obscurity and Live a Life Unleashed. So now, would you say that your parenting has led and influenced some of that?
Well, my parents.
Yeah, your parents.
Yes. My parents definitely influenced a lot of that, specifically my father. Because I wrote this book specifically for men, though the principles apply to everyone. In fact, the only comment that I got, because I have probably 50% of the people that have read the book are women. And the only complaint that I've gotten is, hey, but you say this is for men, but this works great for women too. And I said, yeah, understand, but this is a marketing thing. I specifically work with men. So yes. I wrote this book for men, and I wanted them, like, women can do a really good job of saying, yeah, I can take this. Whereas men, they're like, nah, that's not talking to me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I wanted it to be that specific. So I wrote it for men, because I believe if men show up more powerfully in their health, in their relationships, in their business or their job, or how they're contributing to this world, I feel like the world would transform to a much better place.
Oh, I definitely agree with you. I mean, it's interesting how again, if you and I reflect back over just the decade shift, 10s, 20s, 30s, you definitely morph over your lifetime. And I'm very intrigued on this because I told you before we started recording today, I literally had this discussion with my other co-host, Travis, yesterday when we recorded. And it's just interesting how our thought demographic changes. And I really do want to kind of focus on this. I'm interested to see how you'd respond. Age is only a number, ladies and gentlemen. So we're not saying you got to wait until you're 38 or 40 like myself to have this epiphany. I think it's putting in the self-work and getting that self-realization that through life experience, you can unlock a lot of this. I don't know. Where are you at on that subject?
Look, life experience is all about it. That being said, right? So I like to call myself a connoisseur of experiences. I'm all for immersing myself in experiences. Now, part of this is my personality, right? I am one of these guys that loves that immersive experience. Get me an immersive experience and I come out a better person. If you're just talking at me and you're not really showing me, I'm a very kinesthetic person. I need to be able to feel my way through things as well. That's why the immersive experiences work so well for me. So part of being 20 is that you've only experienced what you've experienced because you've only had 20 years on this earth. Sure. So I think instead of thinking of rushing it, instead of thinking that you know it all at that point, you understand that there's more to learn and there's more to unpack as life goes on. And so think of it more as something to look forward to, and not that you can't gain any insight prior, but it's just different stages have different focuses. You know, your 20s have a completely different focus if you're going to college than maybe your 30s, where you're trying to establish yourself and level of stability in your life. It's a very different time. And I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice to jumping it because you miss really important parts.
So what do you say by jumping it as far as trying to rush it, right?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. When I was, I have changed a lot since college, and I changed because of this one instant. All my life, my father, my mother always tell me, hey, you know, work hard, study hard, and whatever you want, you'll be able to achieve it eventually. Right.
I think I heard the same thing. Right.
So in my mind, I was always that really kind of square kind of guy, you know, everything by the book, follow the rules, everything. And so in my mind, I said, okay, great. If I can finish college faster, that means I can get started with work. If I can get started with work, that means I'll be at life. You know, I'll start my life at that point. So what happens? I finished college in 3 years. I ran college track and cross country at the university.
A quick pause on that. You finished college in only 3 years?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think that's important to pause on.
Yeah. I finished in 3 years because I was like, okay, if I finish faster, that means I get to start my master's faster, which means I finish faster. And so in my head, I had to check off all these boxes.
Okay.
What happens? You know, I did my undergrad in the general degree was exercise and sports science.
Nice.
But my specialty was in athletic training. At that time I was a licensed and certified athletic trainer, and I wanted to do my master's in exercise physiology.
Okay.
And so what ends up happening, make a long story short, I wanted to go to UNC Chapel Hill. And in UNC Chapel Hill, the guy who writes all the athletic training books, or the more important ones, his name is, I think, Prentice Hall. Okay. Prentice or Hall, I don't know which one or the other is there. It's two. Anyways, he was a professor there at UNC Chapel Hill. Everybody trying to get in there is one of the most competitive athletic training programs to get into.
Okay.
I didn't want to go to athletic training. I wanted to go exercise physiology. But the workaround that people found was apply for exercise physiology. Once you're at school, once you're in, like they don't kick you out unless you did something wrong. True. So they would change their majors when they were a master's in their master's program, they would change and then they would come in through the back door. So when they saw my background, all my letters of recommendation were great, but they had the context of athletic training. And they said, oh, this guy's trying to do the same thing. So they shut me down. They said, no, you didn't get accepted. And I was like, I have almost a 4.0. I had, good scores going in. I had phenomenal recommendations. That didn't make any sense. So the reason I know this is because I called them and I said, listen, I don't get it. I was in the
What I do wrong.
class. Yeah, exactly. What I do wrong. Like I checked off all the boxes I should be in. And they said, well, they told me that. They said, oh, this is what they thought you were going to do. And I said, you don't think anybody should have called me? And
yeah, I was going to say, this is what you thought I was going to do?
Right.
Give me a chance to at least make my case.
Exactly. So that completely destroyed me, to be honest. Like it was at the time one of the worst things that happened to me, but it became one of the biggest blessings in my life because of that, I had this frustration and discomfort with where my life was that I ended up leaving for 3 months, which is when I lived out of my car with one of my teammates, and we ran all the national parks throughout the US. So we lived out of my car and lived out of a tent for 3 months, running in Colorado for a month. And
now these weren't events. These are just you guys wanting to run the parks.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's important to clarify. Like that's a lifestyle choice, right? Like it's like, okay, well, yeah, I can understand that there was like a circuit of events you wanted to compete in. Like, no. You guys just said, let's just go sleep in camp and let's rock every one of this nation's most amazing national parks. I wanted to emphasize that because I don't know if you know my entire background, but obviously I worked for the U.S. Forest Service for a couple of years as a hotshot wildland firefighter. And that was my gateway into, like, we get done fighting a wildfire and we're driving back to our home base in Arizona because we were shipped all over the nation to the big ones. And that was the life of a hotshot. So then, like, we had a really good superintendent. He's like, oh, we're only like, 50 miles out of the way of the Yellowstone. Let's just reroute through there so you guys get a taste. And I was like, yes, like, this is great. Like, I'm on my federal dime of tax money and I get to go see a cool park. You guys, man, like, well, how about we just go live out of our car, camp, and run them all?
Right. We would go stop by a ranger station. Actually, Yellowstone, now that you bring that one up, was the only park that the rangers really did not encourage us. In fact, they tried to dissuade us from running.
Now, was that because of wildlife?
Yeah. That was the only one. Granted, we still ran, but like every other one, we're like, okay, hey, we want to run 12 miles, 16 miles, 20 miles. What are some good trails to go through? And they'll be like, oh yeah, come through here. This, and this. This one, they're like, wait, you're going to run? No. If you want, you can hike, but don't run. So now, we're city boys, from Miami, down south, born and raised. My buddy and I, and he's freaking out because they're like, no, you don't understand. You can't do that because they're grizzly bears. You're going to look like prey.
Yeah.
And there was this one run that was 16 miles. We were going to do it on this closed access road that it's only open seasonally. And so we're like, great. It's a dirt road that we can take for 16 miles. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's clearly marked. You're not going to get lost.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm convincing my buddy. I'm like, hey, nothing's going to happen. We'll be okay. We pull up to the trailhead of this road. And sure enough, there's a massive sign with a big grizzly bear like this over some guy that's like this, scared be under him. And it says, danger, beware of grizzly bears. Now I'm trying to reconvince him that it's okay to do the run.
I was going to say, the visual stimulation when you guys pull up, probably not that great for you convincing him right now. It's like, what about that giant sign right there?
Nah, that's more of a suggestion.
You're like, listen, it's a marketing thing. They want you to get excited about Yellowstone and their grizzlies.
Right, exactly. So we end up running that run. We see a bear. Luckily, no issues, but it was quite the adventure.
So, well, it's interesting because, like, when we were in Yellowstone, we were just driving through it, and then 2011. We had gotten shipped up to Montana for a big fire, and there's some remote territory up there. I'm guessing you guys hit Glacier up there, and we didn't get near Glacier, but that's a beautiful park. Just the photographs.
I've heard. I haven't been out to Glacier. We didn't go. We went from there, and we cut across all the way to Oregon.
Okay.
We went across. So we missed Glacier, but it's on my.
Everybody misses, even we miss Glacier. Like, we were stationed up there, not in Glacier, but not too far away. I'm like, hey guys, can we just reroute through that? And they said, well, that's actually north. That's actually away from where our home base. So we can't really justify that on the on the government dime. But I will tell you, when we were stationed there, that was the first time in 2 years where they said, hey, you gotta, everybody tonight, we're going to be sleeping near the vehicles. So as hotshots, like, we camped all the time. Right. And we would drive, if there was a fire camp, we would drive into fire camp, check in, resupply, go hit the chow lines, get all fed up. And then, because like we were doing 16 hours a day, man, that was our shifts, 2 weeks straight, no days off. So it's like, you got to be rested, you got to be fit. So we said, we do not want to be sleeping in a fire camp. All the regular type 2 crews, everybody did that, because like there's bathrooms there, bathroom trucks and all this other stuff. But then you hear the generators and the lighting going, because like these are like mobile camps they set up in the middle of anywhere just to help support a fire. So the hotshot way that I learned was, nope, you go in, you feed, you restock, and you get the hell out of Dodge. You come back in the morning to feed and resupply again, and then you go out to the fire line. So we would get back in our trucks, drive down the road in our crew carriers, find a field that hopefully we could, park and camp at, and then go out and take your bedroll and sleep under the stars. We didn't use tents either. That was the other thing.
Yeah, I love it. Cowboy camping.
No. Well, the other thing is like hot shots, man. We got to be fast. We got to be like fast to turn around. So they purposely told us like, well, hot shots don't use tents. Like, we have them issued. And I was like, okay, new one for me. Cool. What if it's raining? And they said, well, wildfire doesn't really have a lot of rain. If and when that happens, we'll review that at that time. So I think in 2 years, I think I used my tent 3 times. Which actually, I will tell you, awesome, because you're sleeping under the stars. So once you get used to it, oh my God, like, you want to talk about lifestyle zen. I mean, how about you guys? I mean, did you use your tent all the time?
And I have video and I have lots of pictures from it. But one of the evolutions or the growth of us two, my buddy and I, was originally like, we were used to being behind walls. Yeah. So now we're out there and we had these tents, and at the beginning, everything we'd always set up tents. But then as time went on, after like the first 6 weeks, we're like, oh, we don't need a tent. And like, we go somewhere and we just, it's not going to rain most places, because out west it's drier than out east.
And it takes time to set up and tear down.
Right. And it was just so much nicer to be out there, and you could see all the stars, and I prefer it. Mm-hmm. When I go now, I'll take a tent. I mean, I live down here in Florida, right? So in Miami. Oh yeah. When I go out, there's rain. And
you got bugs and humidity.
Yeah. So if there's no rain forecasted, I'll just put a bug net, so that you're not going nuts.
Oh, the best hack is just rocking a bivvy. I don't know if you got any. Do you have a nice bivvy?
No, that's hot, man. Down here, that's hot. That's hot.
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, I'm referencing back to the Northwest. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what a bivvy is, it's basically, you don't have to go full tent. It's kind of like sliding into a sleeve. I don't know how. I mean, how would you define that, Armando? Is that what you say? It's like sliding into a sleeve. It's like a cocoon.
It's like a waterproof. It's like a waterproof sleeping bag.
Yeah, there you go. But then we'd actually slide the sleep bag into the bivvy if it was it's just that extra layer. And again, this was in the Northwest, not in the Southeast.
Not in the swamps. Yeah.
Probably not. You don't really want to sleep in your own sweat puddle, I guess. That's what that's what I'm imagining right now.
Right.
I mean, is this cool? So like, you kind of just hinted at it. So this brought you and your buddy closer together. What's your buddy's name?
Johan.
Okay. So you and Johan, man, like this had to like, I mean, nowadays we joke around, people call like my best friend, we do a lot of crazy stuff together, and like, everybody's like, you guys got a serious bromance going on. I'm like, oh, if you want to call it a bromance, sure. But in the end, it's like, when you find people that you can connect with and find common ground with and grow together with, and maybe I'm kind of hinting at what you do with your men's groups and coaching, but it's like, dude, it's legit. Okay.
Right.
As men or women, we need that. I don't know. I mean, am I wrong on this?
No, I agree 100%. I feel that connection, and that's why I say, like, in immersive experiences, like one of the things that I do is what I call the fire adventure, where we'll take a group of men out, we'll hike. We're down here in Florida, so we'll hike for anywhere between 5 and 10 miles,
Nice.
and then I teach them how to make primitive fire. So within that is laced a whole bunch of lessons that we can take and apply into our life. Plus, it's fun. There's something about kind of creating something primitive that is very bonding, because, in primitive life, you didn't survive by yourself. You survived with a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start bringing in all these elements, plus you're there. And yes, these are all men. I mean, for multiple reasons. When men are together and they're a group, they behave very differently when there's women.
Mm-hmm.
The obvious one, I'm a married man. There's no way I'm going to be sleeping out in the stars with other women. It's just not going to happen.
That's
right?
true. I'm not sure if your wife would really approve of that. So socially, it could raise some interesting questions. So
exactly. So, I focus on building that cohesion and getting these immersive experience for guys to really peel back the layers. Here's one thing that I think you'd find very interesting is when you think about most personal development and most growth, what is the thing that you think about that you feel like you need in order to grow? Like, what is it that you think you need when you think about that?
Well, it's interesting because we were talking about generational shifts before. So back in my late 20s, when I was starting to try and figure out this whole self and personal or professional development, I was being driven by different things back then, right? I was doing it to, I don't know, date better.
Right.
I mean, if I fast forward that to my 30s, and obviously thanks to the firefighting experience, everything else, for me, my trigger point was finding more depth and more awareness of who I was. It wasn't just, yes, I want to level up, right? Like I'm very big into professional development. Half my books back here are, ways to level up in business or marketing, but also lifestyle, psychology. Like, I mean, I studied psychology when I was in school. So I guess it depends. I mean, right? There is no right answer on this one either. I'm guessing is where you're hinting at too, but everybody's driven by a different thing.
Right. And I guess more to kind of guide it from this perspective is, yes, there is no one thing, but there's a lot of information out there. And very often we approach it like we're missing something.
You're looking to fill in the blank.
To fill in something in here. When in reality, the analogy that I give is more of like the story of David, of the big sculpture of David.
But back then was a symbol of perfection.
Right. So considered one of the most amazing sculptures ever. They asked Michelangelo, and they're like, hey, how did you create this masterpiece? He says, well, I just removed everything that wasn't David. And that to me was a big shift, because too often we think of growth of adding, right?
That's true. Acquiring knowledge.
Right. Yeah. Acquiring things, knowledge, experiences, when in reality, you said it, going deeper with understanding the self, right? Where my big focus is removing, like the David, everything that isn't you, so that the masterpiece actually shows up clearly and brighter.
It's interesting you're tapping into this, because I just aired an episode. Never ever thought I'd be saying this, but I got to have a co-host come on who is a pretty well-known rabbi. And I have zero connectivity to, Judaism or rabbis or anything. But, I got referred to him. He referred to me, and I reached out, and he had a new book coming out called The Joy of Intimacy. And I mean, he's been speaking to couples and men and people for 40 years. This guy got this giant white beard. I mean, this guy's 70 years old, never shaved in his life, just massive rabbi beard. But the cool thing he brought up in that episode was it's connecting what you're talking about. And that's why I'm vibing on this, is that we talked a lot about intimacy, And I talked about how, obviously, when I was younger, I was not very intimate. I was very surface, right? I wasn't digging deep into who I was. I wasn't allowing myself to get vulnerable, right? I think some of the depth that you're speaking at, or you and I are both speaking at right now, and whether we're talking about, rabbis focus on intimacy in life, not just in romance, right? Not just sexuality, but also your friendships, your family. That's intimacy. Like he really dug deep on it. And I really connected from the vulnerability standpoint. And I'm interested, I'm guessing some of this comes out in your men's groups and your coaching practices, is that getting us guys who are trying to be what we think everybody else wants us to be, back into ourselves, look inward and realize that, again, you're saying shed off what you think everybody wants you to be. And why don't you dig deep and get vulnerable and really figure out who you are and what you want to be in this world. So am I tapping here, man? Am I getting into this?
Yeah, for sure. Like, we wear the mask, we wear the layers of clothing that portrays certain things. But yes, as you start removing some of that, some of it is external, but a lot of it is our perceptions that we need to start removing and getting rid of, and saying, hey, how can we be honest with ourselves? How can we be truly authentic and actually share that with the world unapologetically? And I'm not a big fan of the, there are a few things that kind of like drive me crazy.
I definitely want to hear that. Come on.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of things that drive me crazy.
Right. Well, I hear it all the time. I talk to men and they're like, yeah, because these are the words, these are the things that society has put on us men. Oh, like you talked about it, and I have an issue with these things when they're not defined. But let's just use the word level up.
Oh yeah,
I get
right.
it. I understand level up, but very often it gets kind of thrown out there, but there's no real definition. You don't even know where you're standing. How do you know you've reached the next level?
Yeah. How could you climb if you have no foundation to start from?
Right. So whether it's, light it up, level up, reaching the next level, grinding. Oh my goodness, that one kills me. Or the hustle. Okay.
There's a whole lot of grinding and hustling going on.
Yeah.
Just go on Instagram, man. It's hashtagged everywhere. I use it once in a while in the right frame of mind, right? But if you got it everywhere all the time, I've even been called out. My brand, like Live the Fuel, it technically stands for Live the Fired Up Epic Life. And when I first started growing and putting more social media out there, I was like tagging or mentioning fired up and epic all the time. And one of my closest friends is like, dude, stop it. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I was like, dude, it's who I am. I want to inspire and motivate people that way. And he's like, yeah, but he's like, how often do you use epic in life? Like, that's a pretty strong, powerful word. And I really respected him for calling me out on that. Obviously, at first I took a little offense to it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, the people that are closest to you know you the best, right? So it's like, wait a minute, maybe I need to just take a deep breath, allow the criticism to come in, and just see how I can adapt and maybe grow from that, not level up from that. Just grow.
And it's funny because the two other ones is epic is another one and fired up is another one. And again, there's nothing wrong with any of those words, but they're becoming so used and so out of place and so out of context that they're getting diluted. And so everyone's like, oh, this is epic. You just ate you just ate an ice cream, or you just ate a banana.
This is the most epic piece of pizza ever, man. Oh my God. I'm like, dude, it's pizza. Stop it. And you shouldn't be eating it anyway.
Right. So one of the things that I share with guys is being more precise with the words that you use, because the words that you use become the lens in which you view the world. And if there's no precision in your words, there are no precision in your life.
I like that. So someone's hearing this right now. I mean, the last piece you just mentioned, precision. Can you get a little more granular on that? I mean, just to help some of these people might be hearing this right now, like, well, what does he mean by that? I mean, I got it, but what about some people that are newer, right? They haven't gotten to this where you and I might be at yet. So, because I like to use this more recently, I'm like, listen, what people have to realize is that, and the rabbi actually reinforced this. He said, we're not teaching anything new. He's like, this is what, he's like, in all my years, he said, listen, he's like, especially with joy and intimacy and love and romance, et cetera. He's like, the problem is this, it's been taught and retaught time and time over and over time. We just change the wording, we change how it's defined, but in the end, it's the same content. It's just we're adapting it to a new generation, new way of taught, teaching, etc. He's like, the issue I have is that people are stopping the teaching. They're not passing on the information. So these newer generations coming up are ready to thrive and acquire this content, but they don't know how to. It's not being put simply. And he said something as simple as intimacy has left so many people these days. He's like, they don't understand what true intimacy is. When you ask somebody, you being married, you'll appreciate this. I want to vibe on this whole decisiveness, right? He said, I ask a gentleman what he loves. Why does he love his wife? And the guy responds with, oh, I love this about her and that about her. That. He's like, okay. But he's like, no, why do you truly love her? Like, what is it that's just is her, like your wife? And he said, well, he's like, I guess I also love this and this about her. And he's like, okay, we're not connecting. He's like, you keep saying about. He's like, that's all surface level stuff. Right, going back to your point on David, he's like, strip that stuff away. Yes, maybe you both love running, strip that away. Maybe you both love kayaking, strip that away. Maybe you love the fact that she supports you in ultramarathons, for example. Whatever it may be, he's like, these are abouts. He's like, you need the true depth, the intimacy, what do you truly love, with her? And it was interesting. Like, I'd never heard someone put it that way. So I was like, man, you're dropping some bombs, man. I was like, I was not ready. So again, I'm not sure you're interested in the joy of intimacy. You might want to go listen to that episode because I was listening to it yesterday again because I'm like, man, that guy's got some wisdom.
Right.
But I mean, let's think about this. Like, you're a married man. I'm engaged. So does that connect with you? Do you get what he's talking about?
Yeah, I understand 100% what you, at least the way you explained it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you're saying. And, somebody says, what do you like? Why do you love your wife?
Mm-hmm.
The truth is that you can't really put into words
Mm-hmm.
the why, right? So it's more the connection that I have with her that allows me to know that the love is there and we want to foster that connection, that communication. The things that we do, or whether it's the running together, the experiences that we have, only help to amplify that underlying connection.
Nice.
But it's not those things. And that's actually a big problem now that you bring that up,
right?
Because too many couples have been led to think that love is this feeling, this thing that it's like, oh, you're fluttery all the time and everything is perfect, everything is good.
It's not.
It's not. In fact, if it is that, you haven't even scratched the surface of love yet.
Right. Because
love is work, love is hard, love continues to challenge you.
But Armando, man, everybody says when you find the right one, it's not hard. It's easy. And I was like, yeah, that's all bullshit.
It's what you're really choosing to focus on, right? Because, and I say it's hard, it's challenging, not because you're going to be disagreeing all the time, though you will be disagreeing, especially if you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you find someone that you love and loves you back, they will demand excellence. And excellence is difficult. And excellence is something that needs to be worked on, and with your partner, something that you guys need to grow with together. And it's something that is going to be hard because we don't like change. We do not like change. But change, and really not change, but transformation is really where that process takes you through. Everybody looks at the end.
Look at basic psychology, right? So the human brain naturally, instantaneously is designed to respond and protect us, right?
Right.
So as your point, change. So if something drastic or sudden happens, we go in that the fight or flight mode, right? It's like, okay, you either stay and take risks or you run, right? So it's a natural response every single time. And I mean, obviously through like you and I have done through adventure, through taking risks and embracing them, we start retraining our brain. So like if an emergency situation happens now, I'm completely calm. I mean, 2 years ago, I was driving down the highway and I see a car flipped over on its roof. Like people are like running around trying to help them and everything else. I get out of the car. I just walk around the back of the car, grab my med kit out of the back of the car because I always have one on me, and just walk over, pull out some rubber gloves. I'm like, hey guys, you might want to use these. I'm just standing there, and the guy's like, you're pretty calm, man. I'm like, well, it's not me in the car, number one. Number two, what's the point of getting freaked out and crazy? I was like, did somebody call 911? Great. Police are on the way. Paramedics are on the way. All we could do is stabilize the situation. Like I was calm. It was, and I wasn't really trained to do that because I was a wildland guy, but it was interesting. Like I reflect back on that now and I'm like, that came through experience, reprogramming the brain, learning not to freak out, right?
Training, right?
Yeah. Training.
And that's why like people talk about it's this dilemma that we're faced with because, and you were talking about how do we connect with millennials? The message to millennials and even actually to our generation has been seeking out the easy life, everything, hey, work on your own terms, do this, nobody wants to put in work, everything, automate everything and don't do anything. Like
and I'm guilty of this. I use the word maybe too much, but I'm like, it's the hacks, right? What are you going to do to hack life, hack business, hack entrepreneurship? And it goes back to your point, right? I believe in the word hack when used in the right context.
Right. and so, but think about this for a second, because if you have that as the context for everything, when it comes time to do something difficult, you haven't put in the reps.
Right.
What makes training so effective is you put in the reps, the pain, the struggle, pushing against resistance so that when it's time to perform, you're ready. But that doesn't happen if you don't feel it beforehand because you haven't trained your mind, your brain, your body, everything to actually get it done.
So it's interesting. So, and I love your hit on this because I'm a health and fitness nut, right? So I had to put in the reps to figure out how to become. I couldn't just show up and become a wildland firefighter, right? I couldn't show up and just all of a sudden become. I'm a CFL1 CrossFit coach. I had to go, and I didn't just say, I'm going to become CrossFit and I'll become a CrossFit coach. Which I've met people in those training certification courses, and they were brand new to the sport of fitness. And I'm like, and they're trying to become a CrossFit coach. I'm like, listen, I'm glad you're here to learn to become a CrossFit coach, but you haven't even done it yet. Like, dude, if you leave this class and pass the knowledge, that does not mean you're worthy to go out and teach it and coach others. You haven't put in the reps. Right. I mean, is that something like, actually, I'm doing some screen sharing here for our video feed. Is that something you do on your virtual summit? Because I saw that when I was digging into your background, your site. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, obviously his brand is his name. It's armandocruz.com with a Z. But is that something you guys do at your virtual summit? Like helping people put in those reps?
Yeah, well, the summit itself was a series of 20 experts from across the world.
Okay.
That we had. There were coaches, investors in different areas of our life that would help men show up powerfully in these areas, whether it was investing, their business, their marriage, their intimacy, building tribes, all these different things that would actually help men show up in their life a little bit better.
But right? Sharing those examples from each of those people is also, would you say that counts as a rep, right? Like, cause you're okay, great. I'm learning. Oh, dude, you had John Spencer Ellis on? I've had him on here. I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
He is an awesome guy.
Yeah. John is great. I would say no, to be honest. I would say those aren't the reps.
Okay.
That's exposing you to the people that can help you move in the direction to do the reps in. In other words, if you want to get better at investing in real estate, maybe you want to do wholesaling or something like that, talk to Alex Pardo. That's what he does with his business. If you want to get better at storytelling, Andy Enriquez, amazing, right? Sure. He can teach you the direction in which to put in the reps. This is a good transition, but in talking about legacy in my book,
Yeah.
We have this process that I
Got
take
it
you.
up right here. Boom.
We take you through this process where you have to have the awareness, right? So you have to understand what is legacy, but then you have to have the vision. And the vision is really kind of, what is that big thing that you want to hit? What is that big thing you want to become or want to achieve? What is that legacy that you want? Then you have to have the purpose, which is the engine that'll drive you, and then the process.
Okay.
The process is the blueprint. And the fifth and final step is the implementation. That's where you put in the reps. But if you just start doing reps without a clear vision, without that driving factor, without the blueprint to actually get you there, what ends up happening is that you do a few reps, but there's no purpose to them. And you see no progress because you don't know what progress looks like, because you don't even know where you're going.
So not to get off of legacy code, because this is the fuel legacy code, but at the bottom of your new book, you have right there your name, and you have the creator of the Rich Man Experience and Fire Adventure. And obviously Rich is an acronym, R.I.C.H.
Right.
So before creating legacy code, I'm guessing that was just one example, right? The Rich component of putting together a program, a foundation, a way or a system to get people to put in their reps. Could you explain that a little bit better? Because I don't know about the Rich Man Experience.
Sure. You mind if I share a quick background story in that, just to make that connection?
Dude, let's rock out, man, because you're teaching me. I obviously I can't, like, to your point, I'm not actually putting in the reps, but I need to be influenced so I can put in the reps.
Gotcha. Okay. So about 4.5 years ago, you had mentioned, so I have a studio in Miami. Been doing fitness and physical therapy in our own unique way, right? Like, I'm the only physical therapist that guarantees
your bio. You basically reference the lifestyle physical therapist. I like that.
Right. Yeah, and I'm the only one that'll give you a guarantee. I'll fix you in 5 sessions or less, or your money back. Nobody else will say that.
Wow.
Or give you your money back, right? So, anyways, I've been doing that since 2005, and about 4.5 years ago, something happened in my brain or my life that I felt like I was being trapped by my business. Maybe if you're listening to this, you've ever been in a position where you feel held down by your circumstances, maybe your job,
definitely
maybe your relationship, like almost like an anchor that's pulling you down and drowning you.
Yeah. And you feel stalled.
Exactly. And that's where I found myself. But what made matters worse was, who was I going to share that with? Because from the outside, I had a successful business. My marriage was great. I was healthy. I had great kids. I had a nice car. I had everything you were supposed to have. So what was I going to, who was I going to say to, oh, I don't feel right? You're like, really? You don't feel right? And you have all of this and you have this life? So I had this really dark decline, if you want to call it, that I really started pushing away clients. I sent our business into almost bankruptcy. My wife was pregnant with our 3rd child, and I was really lost. Like, I was like, I really don't know what I'm going to do here. We were starting to not be able to pay our bills, because that's how
it was impacting your productivity.
Yeah. Anyways, I had one of my coaches reach out to me, and he said, listen, I have a retreat in Thailand that I think you would really benefit from.
This came from one of your coaches?
Yeah. Like a mentor of mine.
On your team. I was mentor yours. Thank you. That's a good clarifier. Like, is it one of your coaches to work with you, or is it one of your mentors? Okay.
Yeah. One of my mentors wouldn't. So he reached out to me. He said that. I looked it over, and I was like, yep, this is definitely where I need to be. I tell my wife, and we definitely cannot afford this. And I would be gone for 12 days.
Wow.
And it was during the time when the baby possibly would be born.
Wow.
So add all of those together, and I'm trying to explain this to my pregnant wife. And this is what I call, like, probably one of the moments in my life where I got to witness the greatest amount of courage. because she looked at me and she asked me point blank. She said, "Do you think that this can help you get out of this? Because I can't help you anymore. I don't know how to help you." And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Well, then you need to do this, but not for you, but for us, for your kids, because I need you to be the husband, the father, the man that I know you to be, not just stick around there." And to me, that's probably one of the most gut-wrenching things that I've ever experienced, because I put my family through that. I don't know what was wrong with my mind, but I was in a really dark place.
It's interesting. I mean, not to throw off your story, but I'm hearing that, I don't know, if I was you, I'm hearing that it's like, wow, I immediately, maybe this is my own personal manifestation, because I'm like, man, she doesn't want somebody that's just going to go through the motions, right? Like, yes, I'm the husband and the father. That's a job title. It's much more than that. She needs much more than that. You guys all deserve much more than that. And I realized that with my fiance too. Like, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to this, like, you can always get another boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband, wife, right? Like, so if you're going to get into this, you got to be all in. And she was definitely all in with you, man. If she was willing to say, yeah, you need to do this, go.
Right. Well, wow. She looked at me, she said, and she's like, when she said that, she's like, "Look, I want you to be there in the birth, but I'd rather you miss the birth and be present and be the man, the husband, the father that I know you to be for the rest of our lives, than be here and be not here." You know what I'm saying? Like, and that to me, like, just was a gut check. And I was like, now I know I have to do this. And we figured it out. We figured it out, credit cards, and we did what we had to do. I went over there and I realized that there was nothing wrong with my business. It was actually serving in the way that I wanted to. But what I did have the space and the clarity around was how I wanted to continue to serve from then on out. And that's where I created the Rich Man Experience, because what I realized was that understanding and having a compass. I don't know if you've ever used a compass. I presume if you've been out there, you know how to use a compass.
Oh, we had to. Compasses and topographical maps, because batteries die, so you can't depend on technology.
Exactly. So your values become your compass in life, because they help point the direction in which you need to go. But as you know, a compass, while not completely useless, is not very effective if you don't have a map to go with it, or becomes significantly more if you have the right map. By the way, you have to have the right map.
Dude, a compass is great. And that's why quick plug to the inventor, whoever invented topographical maps, but great. I know that if I head back east, because that was the direction I'm hiking, that's wonderful. But if you're off trail in the middle of nowhere, if you had a topographical map and you know you're about to possibly drop in on a ravine, you might not want to be there. I mean, I see your point, man. It's like, it's so much more than having direction.
Right. So you have to have the direction, but then what is the map? The map becomes, those are your beliefs, and getting clear on what your values are and what your beliefs are. I really started understanding the balance between the two and the impact that they have on everything that we do. So what I did was I created a program that I wish I had when I was going through this. As a married man, as a father, as an entrepreneur, as someone who was constantly looking for growth, because I didn't find it out there the way I wanted it, that spoke to me, that's what I created. And so to your point, what RICH stands for is a value system. It's a compass to help men show up more powerfully and purposefully in their life. And it stands for RICH, stands for respected, inspired, connected, and happy. So respect,
I like that.
Inspired, connected, and happy.
I think the last piece is the happy piece is very interesting, right? Because everybody says, oh, well, as long as you're happy in life, everything else is fine. I'm like, well, how do you define that, right? Everybody wants to be happy.
Yeah, and that's a good point. If you want, we can kind of go into that, the difference between happiness versus immediate gratification, right? Not the same thing. Because to be truly happy, we're looking at a bigger picture, not just the immediate. And a lot of times people think, oh, because this is the mentality that we've been brainwashed with, is that instant satisfaction. Oh, you got to be happy. Oh, this makes you uncomfortable. You don't have to do that. Oh, somebody you don't like said something you don't like. Oh, you know what? Screw them. No, you know what? We are a unit of people, and we need to learn how to communicate. We also need to be able to be uncomfortable, because in that discomfort is where you find the clarity. Mm-hmm. That's where the heat comes. That's where the diamonds are made.
Preach that again. I love that. Where the discomfort is, ladies and gentlemen, he's nailing it on the head. You got to get uncomfortable. That's one thing I realize, like in life, if I start getting too comfortable nowadays, I don't freak out, but I'm like, I will take a step back. I will assess what's happening. And some people are like, what do you mean by that? Like, don't you want to be comfortable? Like, you want to have, like you hinted, right? You have the job, the car, the family, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but how are you defining comfortable? Like, I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to because eventually that might be fine for now. But yeah, as you just hinted at, right? We're talking about the long haul here. I mean, we're talking about your lifestyle.
Right.
I love putting myself into situations that freak out most people, because it reminds me that I'm alive and I can still learn new things and I can get out of my comfort zone. So I'm loving that you're hitting on this.
Yeah. And just to tie that in, actually, wait, before I jump in there, because I always forget to tell this part of the story. I did make it back. I did not miss the birth of my son.
Oh, timing was everything.
Yeah. He was born 3 days later. So that all worked out.
Nice.
But, yeah, because I've said this before, and then I actually get people, what happened with it? Did you make it back? And people are freaking out. And it's like, I know it's good to leave open loops from a marketing perspective, but this one drives people crazy. So I like to close it when I remember to share it.
I love it. But so also the universe provides, right? Maybe everything was supposed to happen. Everything worked out.
Yeah. No, definitely. I'm a much better person for it. I'm able to serve people on a deeper level, help families, help communities much better, because these men are showing up more powerfully in their marriage, in their family's life, in their community, as a result of this work that they're doing, right? I'm not doing it to them.
No.
I am facilitating and helping them gain clarity where there's struggle and obstruction, to help them move along this path.
You're serving as a vehicle.
Right. I'm there to help remove layers.
Yep.
So that they can see what they can't see just yet. Right? Because perspective is everything. Because if you think, oh, I'm awesome, think about the best athletes in the world. They all have coaches. Why? Because a coach will always have a perspective that no matter how good you are, you will never see, because you are in the game. Mm-hmm. And being in the game has a different perspective than being outside of the game. And to say it a little bit different, you can't see the picture if you're in the frame.
True.
Right? So you need to step away, and you can't do that to yourself all the time. And having that person from the outside shares a perspective that could be highly valuable if you have the right person, by the way, not just anyone, because everybody has an opinion, but that's very different than coaching.
I definitely agree on that. Everybody thinks they're a coach.
Right.
I'm not going to get into that one. That's a whole other podcast.
So, and to get to your point about the discomfort, people always talk to me and they're like, I just recently went, it was 30 some miles through the swamp. Like, if you look at my Instagram and my Facebook, I have videos and pictures. I was there for 8.5 hours going through the swamps and, traversing this section. People are like, why do you do, like, people say, they think about it like, oh, this is something that you like because it's what you like. Most people say, oh, I don't like that. I don't like being uncomfortable out there. And the misconception is that I'm comfortable when in reality I sleep horrible. I'm sweaty, nasty, dirty, and I would much rather sleep in my bed next to my wife and be clean. But the reason I do those things is to put myself in positions that help me appreciate all the other ones. It's to help me kind of get through that difficulty, as opposed to, oh yeah, look, there you go. Look, that's a water moccasin.
I was gonna say you were up close and personal on that shot.
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just sharing his Instagram feed. FYI, he's at A Cruz and then a number 3, so ACRUZ3. All this stuff will be linked in the show notes, like we always do on the website. But yeah, you got some really cool. I don't want to call them. Yeah, that's definitely swamp.
Yeah, Pineland. There's a quick little.
That was a trail.
Yeah, look, that's a trail right there. Click on that.
Hold on a second. Hold on. This little video here.
Yeah,
click on there's water on that. That's a trail?
That's the trail. So imagine that and water moccasins and gators.
So you can't hear the water, but our viewers will be able to. Oh my God, man. Like you're probably in at least 6 inches of water there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. That's swamp life, baby. You should be there you go, hashtag swamp life. Oh, there you go. You have a trail marker. Okay. So that's like hiking on the Appalachian Trail. And they have white marks on the trees, so you've got your orange or red, looks like. But.
Yeah, that's part of the Florida Trail.
Okay,
it's an orange blaze. Actually, that's 2022. That's the big. That's our big family goal. 2022. My youngest will be 8. My oldest will be 13, and we're looking to hike the Appalachian Trail.
Nice.
As a family.
Wow, as a family? I don't think I've ever heard of that being done.
Yeah, there are a few families that have done it. That's like a little racer snake, I think.
Yeah, that's a lot of good shots. This is cool. I got to follow you. Oh. There you go. Follow achieved. This is cool. I love it. That's the cool thing about Instagram. I mean, again, it doesn't give you the real experience, but at least it shows people like, hey, I'm actually doing these things. Like this isn't photoshopped.
Right. Right. Well, yeah. I'm not, and I share a lot of different things. Like yesterday, I shared a picture of a stool that I reupholstered. I learned how to upholster a stool.
There you go.
And I think understanding and gaining skills and independence only gives you more confidence into more arenas, which makes you more, I don't know.
I think it goes back to
advancing.
It just goes back to independence in general, or if nothing else, building self-confidence, building awareness, the fact that you can be resilient and you can work through things. And I think a lot of times people do try and take the easy route, and they don't realize that if you just take a deep breath, slow down, and try and figure it out, maybe it takes 5 minutes, right? But instead, a lot of people just freak out and say, "Oh, I can't figure this out. I'm just going to call somebody." Like, just take 5 minutes and think about it. As long as it's not a life or death situation, that's different.
Right. And by the way, like these all, I understand. I have them in context, right? So now I'm married. I have kids. So the level of risk that I take is a lot less. That may seem very risky, but I knew where I was going through there. I had been through there before. There are there are snakes, there are gators, but most times they're not there. Like, they're not around. Have you seen them? Yeah, most of the times I won't say most of the times, because I'm sure there'll be that one time, but most of the times they don't do anything to you. They just, you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone, kind of thing. If you don't understand certain things, then it seems a lot riskier than understanding the context for which they are. I'm not going to go handle any of them because I don't feel comfortable. I don't know enough about snakes, though I'm trying to learn a little bit more so that I have less fear. Because to me, a snake is a snake and all of them will kill you. You know what I'm saying? But as as my kids grow older and they have that, they don't have those filters that we have as an adults. And so they want to touch things. I have to educate myself. Okay, well, is this really something that is dangerous, or is it because it's a fear that was instilled in me?
Right.
So I've had to educate myself, since I like being outside, with more of these things, and it's an ongoing process.
Well, I think that's a great lesson as we're getting, because we've been on for a little while. We're going to eventually bring this show to a close. But I mean, I love this energy and I love this content. But it's like, guys, like he just hit another nail on the head. It's like we hinted at it before. It's putting in the reps, it's putting in the work, but also realizing that the work is never going to stop. It shouldn't, right? It's just going to manifest to a new level. And we're not talking about leveling up. Just say we're manifesting to a new level, a new chapter of life. The work should not never stop. It just changes, right? Like I was a spinning instructor years ago, and then as one of my part-time jobs when I was working my corporate gig, that was my life balance, right? Then I got into endurance cycling. I do centuries, 100-milers, and stuff like that. And some people still think that's weird. Then I changed everything and went did the firefighting thing, and then became a CrossFit coach in my free time, and all of these things. It's just keep challenging yourself. That's what I'm hearing from you, right? It's like, that's what we should be doing in life. Right. Like this happened last night. We were at dinner. You'll appreciate this. And friends of ours want my fiance and I to come in, and they were teachers at a charter school. Well, actually, one is a counselor and the other one's a teacher. And they said, listen, we want you to come in and speak. And I do a lot of public speaking. So I'm like, sure, anytime, anywhere. And my fiance is like, no, I don't like speaking. But she's a equine horse vet. She is also a doctor of chiropractic for large animals. And I was like, baby, you have such a unique background. You might inspire others to do what you're doing. And she's like, no, I hate what I do. I'm like, okay, there's a love-hate relationship there, right? Like, I know it's not an easy job. I found out that veterinary medicine actually has a very high rate of suicide. Not to bring this podcast down, but it's like something that I realized, like, okay, I need to be there for her and help her balance her life, because that's not an easy thing that she's doing, possibly having to put down someone's loved horse one day, or constantly that life and death struggle to save lives for animals. It's a crazy thing. I can't begin to fathom that. But I also told him, like, in the end, that you're doing something that might inspire somebody else, right? To think differently and do something differently. And I think that's something that we should all in life aspire to do. Not everybody needs to be a natural public speaker, but I think each of us need to be reminded that when you put in enough reps in life and do enough things and take enough challenges, that you can be giving back and inspiring and motivating others. And that's what you're doing here. That's what I'm taking out of Armando Cruz. And I love the fact you put together programs too. Right.
Actually, to your point, I think too often, and it's easy to see the big things, right? Mm-hmm. Too often we see, whether, you went and you cycled 100 miles, or I went across the swamps, or I ran 50 miles, or I did this. People make assumptions based off the end. They don't see the reps in there. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it was, actually, I'll tell you right now, because I have it right here. I've been tracking it. So for the past 635 days today to the date, I haven't missed a day. I've been doing 6 things every single day. Every single day without missing a day. I've been meditating. Okay. I do at least 10 minutes of movement. I call it movement, and movement, the way I define it, is moving in your body in a way that heals, energizes, or excites. That could be going out for a run. That could be going out for a walk. That could be doing some stretching for yoga. And there's a point to all of this, right? The other ones are reading 5 pages in a book, writing 50 words in like a post or an article, making a video every day, and reaching out to 3 people. Now, these were all 6 habits that I decided that I wanted to do to help me grow as a person. Now, what came as a result of me doing those? The meditation has opened the door for me to be more peaceful, improve my prayer life. I've delved into been more active in my church as a result of creating that space of reflection, or the school of silence, so to speak, okay? Or the classroom of silence. The second one, 10 minutes of movement. Well, that originally was to help me stay consistent, because I'd go and I'd start doing, one day I'd go and I'd run for 3 hours, and then I wouldn't do it for 2 weeks. And then I'd lift for 2 or 3 days, and then I wouldn't do it for like another week. And I was like, man, I need more consistency. So I created all these miniature habits based off one rule. What can you do even on your worst day? Right?
Very true.
So, so that opened the door for me. Right now, I'm at 245 days that I haven't missed a day of running.
Nice.
Right? But that didn't start. And that originally started as 30 minutes every day for the 5 weeks. And every 5 weeks, I would increase to 15 minutes. And I got all the way to 2 hours. So I ran for 2 hours every single day for 35 days. Now I just came back to 30 minutes. I'm going to start the cycle over again.
There you go.
Right? What else? The video every day. That's my stage. That's how I practice how to speak. People tell me, oh, you're such a natural public speaker. No, I'm not a natural public speaker. I've been in front of a camera every single day for 600 and some days without missing a day, practicing, putting in my reps. The 50 words doesn't seem a lot. That's a post on Facebook. That's a post on whatever.
A lot of people don't even count how many words they type.
Right. Well, I'm saying like these are
That's
minimums.
good.
They're all minimums. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have written the book. The book came as a result of putting in the habits for a year before I was doing that. And then January of 2017, I started writing the book. I'm sharing these because people think it's these big things.
No, you're inspiring me, man, because everybody keeps telling me I got to write a book about the firefighting transition in life, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. And it's like, you got to start putting in the reps, Scott.
Put it in, because writing is difficult for me. And
it is here. I listen to audiobooks. It's hard for me to sit down and physically read because I travel so much. So I've adapted, and I love doing auditory, and I love podcasting. But now it's like, oh, now I got to find time to also potentially start writing.
So here's the thing. It's not that you have to, but when you realize that it becomes an asset in your arsenal, it may help, right? So writing is more difficult. I'd rather speak it. I'd rather,
Same here.
I'd rather be in front of a video or audio because it flows out of my head easier. What I found was getting uncomfortable, putting in the resistance in writing gave me more clarity mentally because I had to go through the work of trying to be clear to bring it from whatever is flowing up in here and actually translate that to words that I have to put on paper. And that all of a sudden shifted my whole perspective. I'm sure you hear my accent, it's the Miami accent, but
I've been there.
I almost failed English and literature. I just didn't get it. I didn't vibe with it. I didn't read a book until I was in my junior year in high school when I had a teacher that inspired me to start reading.
Wow.
But I didn't read all throughout college. I would take a lot of notes, but I didn't read any textbook in college. Not one. So
weren't you a 4.0 student?
Yeah, but I listened. I was at every class. That's one thing. I was
because you hinted earlier in this show, you're a kinesthetic learner, right? I talk about that. There's the VAC method, the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So
right. Yeah, definitely. I'm a kinesthetic. I need to be experienced in there. So I would ask. I was the guy in front asking like a million questions.
Yep, that's me.
I needed to understanding.
Right? Yeah, you and I probably never got critiqued on lack of classroom participation.
Exactly. I was the guy in the front, hands up. Yep. I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I wanted to know.
I'm vibing with you, man. I love it.
So again, the whole point of this is the reps don't take such a big step. Sometimes, and if you've ever done an ultramarathon, you'll understand this very clearly. The biggest step you can take sometimes is a shuffle, right? Because the pain is so much, you're hurting so much, but as long as you're advancing a little bit forward, you're still progressing. You're still going faster. You're still moving than if you were standing still.
I'll connect with you on that, my friend. I mean, back in 2008, I ran my first marathon. It was the People's Marathon, the Marine Corps Marathon, Washington, D.C. No running background at all. did not train properly to the point where I even injured my IT band before even being able to do that race. But I ended up getting healed up enough and we did it. But at one point in that race, I was in pain. And let's be real. No run. I never ran a 5K and I'm running freaking 26.2 miles. What the heck? Right? Getting out of your comfort zone. And I made the mistake, or I should say the learning lesson, to not come to a stop. And I came to a stop. And then trying to get going again. Oh my God. It was more painful to get that something going, even if it was just a shuffle. And I that was one of the biggest takeaways I took from that event, was like, you just got to keep moving, man. Just one foot in front of the other, even if it's a shuffle, start alternating paces, whatever, but like, don't stop. That was the biggest thing that I took away from that event. A lot of other things too, but I just remember how painful it was to try and get going again. And it was brutal, but I was not going to quit. So it's interesting that you're talking about that right now.
Yeah.
Granted, that's not an ultra marathon. Sorry.
No. But it's the same exact thing. You know, I had a similar experience with the first time I did a 50 miler. I had been saying I was going to do one. I was going to say I was going to do it. My training wasn't there. I would keep being inconsistent with my training. And one day I said, it was 2 weeks before my birthday, that I decided to do this 50-mile race. It was on my birthday, actually. And I hadn't trained. I ran in college, but this was many years after. And I decided that I would do it. And I said, okay, well, at the very least, I got to think about this like Disney World. You come out exhausted, but you're walking the entire day if you go to Disney World. And this could be the same thing. At the very least, you can walk.
There you go.
So that's what I put in my head. And of course, I got to the starting line. I look to my left. I look to my right. Everybody's there. The gun goes off, and I take off with the front pack.
It's very competitive. You can't help. Right. It's really hard. Did the same thing.
I am, but the story gets better. So I am in the front pack with about 7 guys. Actually, 7 guys and probably like 1 girl, which she came in second overall. She was a badass. She has one of the world records for a 24-hour race. Anyways, so we're running together. And in this case, it's different than a marathon. A marathon, they have the water stations like every mile.
Oh, yeah.
You don't really have to carry anything. Here, you do have to carry because they're so spread. Like every 4 to 7 miles is the
it's a true endurance training event.
Right. So anyways, I stop at this water station. I fill up, and we're about 10 miles in, and I'm completely full with everything. And everybody stops at this one station. Like everybody stops. And all of a sudden I'm like, I don't need to stop. So my cross country mindset goes into effect like an animal. I just take off while everybody's getting all their stuff. And I'm in the trails and it's closed in. And I'm like, in cross country, it's like, if you can go out of sight, out of mind, people forget and they leave you because they forget that people are there. They can't see you. So they can't gauge what's the distance.
Right.
So at this point, remember, this is 50 miles. We were running like maybe, I would say 8 or 9 minute pace.
Okay.
Which was very relaxed for me.
Yeah, that's good.
At this point, 10 miles into it, I decide I'm gonna win the race now and see, hopefully nobody will remember that I'm there. So I take off and I'm running sub 7 minute pace. I'm running 6 something now through the trails. But the most that I have run up to this point leading up to this race is 60 minutes. So I'm already past my threshold in training. And I did that 2 times leading up to that. I get to mile 19 and I'm cramping up. I am hobbling at this point and the whole group passes me.
Yep.
I just can't do anything at that point. So for the next 30 miles, I am my legs are seized up. My calves are seized up. I'm trying to run, walk. I was in so much pain, but I finished. Mm-hmm. But the point is that
lessons learned on that one.
Yeah. The point is sometimes you do things even if you're not ready, but when you train and you put in the reps, your proficiency at doing those things improves. And that, by the way, that doesn't mean you're not going to be in pain. It's just you're going to be in pain for possibly less time because you're going to be out there for less time. So in other words,
you've learned other things along the way. It's not just the physical, it's the mental as well.
Yeah, for sure. Does that resonate?
Oh, it's resonating, man. I mean, trust me, I've done that because I've done so many 100-mile bike rides. Like last year I went out and did one, and I was like, I didn't train like I normally did. Like, oh, I got muscle memory, I'll be fine. Oh, trust me, I was hurting a little bit. I mean, a little pride on that one. It's like, yeah. Don't forget your training. Don't forget your training.
Exactly.
I wanted to kick my own ass after that, actually. So, sometimes we are our own worst critics, to a positive, but also to a fault. So,
you got to amplify the things to help use them as strengths when there need to be a strength, and be willing to be humble enough to know when they're not.
Yes. True wisdom right there, actually. That was great. So, well, listen, we got to start bringing this show to a close. We've been on for a while. Man, you got a lot of power to drop. I love it. It's been great having you on. And something I do, which if you listen to obviously to Hillary's episodes, you've had so much great wisdom already shared on this show, but is there, because now we're in 2018 when we're recording this, is there, for our final words of our show, I like to honor the co-host, let you guys close it out. Is there a all-encompassing thing right now over everything that you've already done, but also where you're going, that you're just trying to leave behind now with this new book, Legacy Code? And obviously, again, ladies and gentlemen, you can actually go to actual legacycodebook.com directly, not just, ArmandoCruz.com. So you can go right to legacycodebook.com, check it out, and score it on Amazon today. But is there anything else that you recommend or any final words that you want to leave behind for our audience, if they forget everything else you've already shared with us today?
Be curious, right? If you're curious, you never stop searching. You never stop seeking what's around the next corner. And I'm not saying that from the perspective of that you're not happy with where you are. Be curious to be excited, to immerse yourself in life, and you're gonna see that it's gonna take you a lot further. Too many people try to force things, but if you're curious about what's around the next corner, it's not because you're going to gain something, but it's because it's there. That in and of itself, that discovery in and of itself will be an asset to your life, and the way you think, and the way you move, and the way you experience the rest of your life because of curiosity. So that would be my parting words.
I love it. Listen, hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, he said it best. 2 big words right there. Be curious. But seriously, check him out at ArmandoCruz.com. Definitely check out the book at thelegacycodebook.com. Again, all of this stuff, all of his social media profiles will be linked in the show notes on livethefield.com. That way you guys can easily click, like, follow, cyber stalk him. He's got a really fun Instagram feed, so you can really check that out as well. But again, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another Live the Fuel podcast show. That is my coon howling in the background if he comes through at the end, because Calvin stayed quiet this entire time. Thank you for listening in. Armando, shout out to your love, man. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You too can live the fuel. Talk to you guys again soon. You're free to the pod. That was pretty good, man. We lasted this whole time. And Calvin's, you know why? I see out my window, UPS truck just drove away. That means my super healthy Pilly Nuts are here. So, by the way, if you don't know about them, you need to score some Pilly Nuts.
Next time we'll be talking, you have a bag of nuts in your mouth. Is that what it is?
Oh, dude, I'm telling you. We're leaving. We're leaving this week for 10 days. Our regular ski trip in Colorado. Gotcha. So yes, I have bags of their nuts in my mouth everywhere I go.
Put that on the podcast.
I will tell you, legitimately, man, probably the largest dose of healthy fats and magnesium. It's probably the healthiest nut on the planet.
Pilly
I'm not kidding.
Nuts, P-I-L-I?
Pilly nut. Yeah, I have them linked on my website and my resources page. It's eatpillynuts.com. Great story. I had a founder on the show, but he's basically went over there to the Philippines just trying to do good things, and found these nuts in one of the local bazaars or markets or whatever. And he said, what if this is a really healthy nut? So brought him back here to the States, found a way to give back to the Philippines. So that basically everything is done there. He's from Oregon, but he employs the villagers. The villagers climb these jungle trees that have been around for hundreds of years. It's their seed, their nut. So it's a tree nut. It's not any other nut. But he doesn't roast them. He sprouts them. There's a whole process so you keep the natural healthiness intact. And then they like shave them. So it's like slivers. So when you open up the bag of nuts, it's so easy. And then my fiance does not eat any nuts at all. She can't stand like almonds and peanuts and anything else, but loves them.
Cool.
So, and I can tell you, I mean, I've never seen such a strong, because I'm all about fat energy. And I just love those nuts. Like, they're just amazing. I can't sing enough praise. But if you ever want to check them out, I have my own discount code that for our listeners. So they use FUEL, FUEL.
Okay, FUEL.
And they get 10% off their order. So
cool. I'll definitely check them out.
They are tasty. So it's like a soft, it's like a tender. I don't know how to better say it. It's a tender nut. I don't know, but I like to a little extra. They truly are. Hey man, this has been a blast. I'm glad you and I got to connect. This is so cool. I had a feeling if you were connected thanks to Hillary's episode, I'm like, okay, we're gonna have some fun. But I hope you had some fun as well.
I had. Thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it, and let me know what I can do to help. When this comes out, I can share it. If there's anything else,
that's all I could ever ask of my co-hosts. I'm a marketing guy, so normally I'm the one that has to teach people how to grow their brand and grow their marketing. So I'm usually like, hey guys, sharing is caring. I mean, obviously it helps the show too. But I always tell people, and I'll send an email to you when it airs. So I'll just say, hey guys, show's up. Here's the links.
Got it.
If you beat me to the punch and you share before I get a chance to work it into my social media schedule, then I actually prefer that, like, please tag me, because then I'll actually share your post instead of me making my own. That way I'm trying to draw direct traffic back to it's a whole cross-functional marketing.
Sure.
You
Definitely.
probably know what I'm talking about.
Let me know. And one of the things that I'm doing is what my focus for this year is to be on 50 podcasts.
Have you been on Vinny Toyderich's show yet?
No, I haven't.
Man, that guy's got a viral following. I got to get you on his show.
Yeah, if you can make an introduction, I'd love it.
Okay. What
I'm doing is focusing all the podcasts that I'm doing this year. I'm making them part of my virtual book tour.
Oh, fun!
So
virtual book tour. That's good. I like that.
They're going to be on the Legacy Code. If you look at Legacy Code book, you'll see their book tour. If you click on it, right now I have 2 that have gone live. So as they go live, I put them up.
Okay.
So my goal by the end of the year is to have 50, and they have links back. Like, I don't host them on mine.
Yep.
I send them back to you guys.
I like that.
That's the whole point.
Well, that's what I do. I'm all about, that's why I share all of your links. I want people to be able to get to your site and get to the social media feeds. And that's what Google wants anyway. Google wants everybody's sites backlinking to each other. So, the hot seat, PT Spotlight. Yeah. So Fitness Confidential is a big one. Vinny Toyderich is the trainer to the stars out in LA. He's actually originally from New Orleans, so he knows the swamps. But he guest co-hosts on Adam Carolla's podcast. So he gets crazy download bumps off of that because people find him on Adam Carolla's show, then they go to his show. So he has gotten a nice spike in downloads. I've had Vinny on my show at least 3 times. I've been on his show at least once. Good guy. And he likes to cycle in because it's Fitness Confidential. That's the name of his book. That's a best-selling book on Amazon. And it's a good show to be on. He's down to earth, says it how it is, doesn't care, doesn't filter, doesn't edit, just like I do. And I'll try and see if I can get you a little connection there. So actually, I have networking intros actually right here. I already took care of Hillary. I got Hillary connected. Actually, I sent Hillary to Vinny. So they're in a process of trying to get on there because I want to help connect some awareness because of his knowledge around health and fitness and her doing what she's doing with Sick Biz. I thought there'd be some cool cross-functional benefit there. So
certainly, yeah.
But if you email me back, man, just send me a list. There's like, if you want to get on, I obviously you're looking at entrepreneurial. I'll think about it. I know a lot. I've actually spoken at a podcast conference, so I know a lot of podcasters. So I'm not as many like they could be starting out or they can have the biggest following. Cause you know what? My belief is that one person that needed to hear it, if they heard it, that's good. I'm the same way, man. Like I actually probably by the end of the day today, I'm about to pass 50,000 downloads. So I'm not some million downloads podcast yet. So, but as we said, put in the reps. But hey, that's 50,000 people that have heard some component of one of my now approaching 160 shows up online. So I put out 2 a week. So I put in a lot of reps.
Cool, man.
Well, hey, this has been great.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to staying connected, and let me know when it comes out. And
we connected on Facebook yet?
Yes. Okay. I think so. Yeah.
I'll have to get you. I'll put you into my fuel tank. That's my little group that I've been trying to build, right? Just like she has the sick biz community. And I'm trying to, it hasn't reached a point where people are always sharing. One of my past co-hosts, I think he has his own show, the Blind Blogger. He's literally the blind blogger. He's blind. Powerful guy. I love him. And he's in there. He's always doing posting. So he actually had just released a new book too. So I feel like I got to catch up all you guys. Everybody's popping out books now. I'm like, all right. I'm actually scheduling everything out over the next 2 weeks, and I'm unplugging while we're skiing in Colorado next week. So I will have freedom to possibly work on this project. So
cool. Let me know if you need any help.
You got it.
I've been through the struggle, so I got you.
Did you work with Hillary?
I did for.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll probably end up working with her too. I haven't talked to her about that yet, but she's very inspiring and motivational on it. So.
She is. Especially if that's not your natural thing. I think she will help you because she's your biggest cheerleader at the same time.
Oh yeah.
She won't take you on if she doesn't believe in you. But
she agreed with me that I had another person tell me because of all the podcasts, they're like, you probably already have half your content in your podcast show. You just never wrote it down. Right. So there's services like I can't think of it right now, but it's probably on my board here. But basically, you can send like a clip of your recording, and they'll transcribe it. So I was like, yeah, that might be a good way to get things head started, and then I can just fill in the gaps.
So. I spoke the rough draft of the book to get it all out of my head, and then I started editing and making it malleable.
Smart. I've got all the gear.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what I did. Exactly what I did.
Did you? Are you going audible on this?
On the book, yeah, I haven't recorded it yet. I'm in the process of.
And make sure it's you. I don't want some voice. I don't like voiceover artists. I want the author because you're gonna plug in all these extra nuggets of knowledge.
Yeah, I to me, one of the best books that I really enjoyed hearing was "Crush It" with Vaynerchuk.
Yes,
and I loved in the middle of it. He would like, hey, just as an aside, like he'd just break character from reading, and he'd just start going down this path, and then he'd jump back in.
Yep,
I absolutely love that, and I plan on
it breaks it up. It breaks it up. Right. I love it.
So, all right, brother, I gotta let you go. Thank you so much.
You too. Have a great day. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.